Welcome to Forfelliness Belly Snake Illumination from the Ancestors, guiding your path today.
Every day, someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiancé, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great-grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
God Morgen and happy Wotan's Day to you. Today we celebrate the Norse god Wotan, better known and later on known as Odin. We celebrate the wisdom and the collection of our experiences in this lifetime to embrace this larger thing called wisdom. Firstly, I want to say thank you so much for all of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed. It is because of you this message goes out even further. If you haven't had the chance, please feel free to like, follow, subscribe us on whatever platform you happen to be watching us on this morning. Or for those of you who will listen to the show later today, please like, follow, subscribe, and allow us to help broadcast this message even further. Special shout out to, of course, my friends and my family at New Reality TV. newrealitytv.com is a streaming channel dedicated to a plethora of spiritual perspectives that hopefully will resonate with you and allow you a more joyful, more pleasant, more harmonious spiritual path forward. For those of you who may find yourself at having questions or would like to investigate this even more, by all means, stop by my website, norsewhispers.com. There you can find out all the information about me, my show, my teachings, and certainly those pieces of information that can lead us to maybe having a conversation with my life coaching service. So check all of those out, and you can also find a place there to support our show, whether that be through our Patreon connection or whether that be just donations in general. We are always appreciative of the help. Today we're talking about Wotan, but we're talking about the experiences of our lifetime. This is technically what builds the thing that many would refer to as wisdom. Now, wisdom also includes within its grasp, this idea of imagination and using our imagination to kind of preset our mind in a positive way, so that in much the same way that we would set our brain for the fight or flight type of scenario, we can also set our brain to identify that which can absorb joy and peace and harmony and tranquility by kind of presetting that mind, getting that out there in front so that we're actually experiencing our life the way we want. We're not allowing society and certainly the community at which we're in to kind of drive us to a state of an emotional state that we don't want to be in. So each and every day we have a choice, and this is one of the most enlightening. But if there was one thing in all of my teachings and all of my understandings, learnings, I should say, not teachings, but learnings, as I've traveled my journey, if there was one thing I could say, that's it. That's the thing that gave me the most relief from those everyday stressors and panic situations. If there was one thing, it would be the fact that I have a choice. I can decide whether to absorb that stressful energy or not. I can, instead of absorbing stressful energy, I can look at the situation that could cause this stress, and I could look at it objectively, dissect it, and determine what there is for me to learn or grow from. Dissecting, breaking it down to its core pieces as to what I needed to do and why I needed to do it. It's absolutely critical that we kind of identify it to be able to now categorize it, break it down, and not allow it to have this emotional effect on us. Now, should we experience emotions? Should we allow emotions to overrun us? Absolutely. There are moments in time, there are moments throughout our lives where the emotional experience of the moment are absolutely necessary for us to move along our trajectory, along our path. And so grief is one that we will experience it. We will experience the energy of grief, and its effect on us may be very profound. Is that a bad thing? No, absolutely not. But there's a point where grief no longer has value. We can certainly mourn those whom we've lost. Many friends throughout my lifetime, classmates, different schools, fellow service members, my own father, certainly aunts, uncles, you name it, they were in line. I mean, I've lost quite a bit over time. And there was grief. There was a time to grieve. But there also came a point where grieving no longer really served anyone. We have to think about it for a minute. And when we think about grieving as an example, grieving is one of those things that we simply say, all right, we can look at as an example, loss. We can look at it and be focused on the loss of the individual, the loss of the physical form, the loss of that comfort or that, camaraderie or that relationship. Or there comes a point where we can recognize that now they have ascended back to the spiritual realm. We can communicate with them through our hearts. And we can use the lessons they've taught us, whatever that may be, productively when we shift our perspective just a little bit. So grief does indeed have value in allowing us to express disappointment, loss, and those types of things. But there's a point where we're going to cross from a productive venting and relief to a kind of almost, if you will, an excuse to continue. So we'll run out of value that the grief serves us. And don't get me wrong, there are times where grief will enact a fairly heavy toll. I can only imagine parents who have lost children, grandchildren, and grandparents, and losing grandchildren. The amount of pain and grief. But what I can say is, what value does it provide for you to carry that grief beyond a certain point? we're losing value. We're not paying them homage, right? If we're still in the process of grieving their loss, we're not paying it forward. We're not using the lessons that person brought into our lives and paying it forward, right? So, because we're still in the process of grieving, we're recognizing their loss in our lives. So there comes a point where we'll transition between those two places. We're, sorry that we lost that individual to have physical contact with. And now we need to celebrate, embrace their lives, and promote them in a positive way, in a happy way. So the crossover there, it happens. And don't get me wrong, no one, I can't tell you 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, a month, a year. I can't tell you that. No more than I can tell you it's going to rain tomorrow. I can't do that with any certainty. Why? Because we each have our own path through grief. We've spoken before about the thought process and accepting reality, the experiences of reality. In imagination, add some energy before it goes into the mood ring. Mood ring then takes a turn, drops down into the well of the self. Well of the self passes this energy through our virtues, values, and belief systems to where it creates biochemistry. The biochemistry is then transmitted through the body and all the chemistry within the body, thereby altering it, until it arrives back in the horn of feeling. In the horn of feeling, the biochemistry is now converted back into energy in such a way that we have our cognitive space to control the overflow. We have to minimize the silt in the horn to kind of give us as much space as we need for this expansion. Energies then pass from the horn of feeling to the me gate. To the me gate, we're given that ultimate, if we want it or not, and we can make that choice. We can choose to shift our perspective before it arrives in memory. Once it arrives in memory, it then feeds the imagination, and the cycle continues. So in a nutshell, where does grief fall into this? Where does grief fall into this value system assigned to our thought process? Well, there's a couple of different places. The first way, we already know, we have imagination that's feeding into our sensory input. Imagination and sensory input then tells us that that person that we're experiencing is possibly in danger, that they're being thoughtless, whatever. That energy is then passed to our mood ring. Our mood ring is then set by our emotional state. That mood ring then determines how we see the world. So we're going to alter that image more before it's passed down to our well of the self, where we're going to get the virtues, the values, and the belief systems that are going to address this energy. That energy that's created then by our beliefs and our virtues and our values. With the original stream, now is what's converted into biochemistry. Again, some of those beliefs, values, and virtues will be altered by the experience of that grief. Okay? So grief is going to alter what we believe. One of the things in my own personal life is you begin to question mortality. I've been to several of my friends have passed, and when I go and I'm grieving them, I realize that I could be there, right? I mean, let's face it, I'm no spring chicken. it brings into question the mortality, especially when it's people with whom you have placed a value of strength, of authority, maybe. A couple years back, this is a little while ago, my father-in-law passed from the physical realm to the spiritual realm. And, my shield maiden has her own systems there that she's dealt with. But I had looked up to, at that point, the rigidity of my father-in-law. He was long-time Navy veteran. He was, a Mason, brother Masons, a real staunch pillar in his community. And of course, I love my shield maiden beyond words. So, by virtue of him being her father, I held him in high esteem. Well, when he passed, rather to me anyway, I would kind of qualify it as rather unexpectedly, it questioned my own mortality. It drew that you go, wait a minute, that could have been me. But it's not. Although I truly enjoyed the times that we had been down there, my father-in-law being a career Navy, my uncle-in-law being career Navy, me being a Marine. We had wonderful banter when we were down there. We just constantly were able to poke each other and just really have fun, right? And we took it for what it was worth. It was just good fun. Did I miss that? Sure, absolutely. And now we go down to where my shield maiden's from. We go and visit. It's a little bit more. It's certainly more shield maiden orientated, as most of the men within, particularly her father's generation, have moved on to the spiritual realm. It's kind of different, and although there still are obviously family of veterans, it's always fun to go down and we poke each other, and it's a wonderful opportunity. But nonetheless, I grieved his loss. I mean, obviously, I held him in high esteem as more or less a pillar of righteousness and that. And so when he passed, it drew a very sharp circle around my mortality. And so I was kind of questioning that. So yes, grief does do different things to different people. It affects us all very differently. Remember, along our physical journey, we're altering our physical form. We're changing ourselves at a DNA level. And those changes are brought to you by emotional energy. So our emotional energy alters the energy we receive, the energy we interpret, certainly our virtues, values, and belief systems, the amount of space we have for the expansion when we're converting biochemistry back into bioenergy. All of these places are very much affected by the chemistry that we make or the emotions that we recognize. It's a very critical part of our existence. It is the reason that we're physical forms for a physical lifetime. It's why our spiritual self requires this journey to learn, to understand how this chemistry alters our physical form and thereby altering our interpretation of the experiences of the physical realm. So all of these parts are all pieces. So grief is one of those things to be embraced. But again, we have to look at where the value to us and to our community, regardless, even to the family. I'm always reminded conversations in the past, certainly that we've had, my shield maiden and I, where we've talked about mortality. We've talked about leaving the physical realm and what that means. And the conversation always stems back to, well, I'm going to have to be strong for the children. I'm going to have to make sure that the children and the grandchildren are okay. They're safe. You're setting your mind to a certain way, right? Unexpected deaths, our minds aren't set yet, right? So we're not processing the grief the way we would otherwise. So there's a lot of pieces with grief. So I'm really hopeful that we understand that there is a period of value, but we have to be attentive to that period so that we can let it go when it's time to let it go. Okay, I need to take a real quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk to us about how we can use today to remember our emotional journey, because it's just as important as our physical journey, and it is a part of our spiritual journey. So we'll be right back after a quick commercial, and we'll talk about how we can get the best bang for our buck on understanding emotions and its effect on our lives.
The air. The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me.
It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
newrealitytv.com.
Welcome back, and thank you for taking that quick break with me. I am always honored and pleased to present my friends and my family, really my family, at New Reality TV. Wonderful group, wonderful streaming channel that I'm sure there is things there that can resonate with you and help you along your spiritual journey. So today we're talking about Wotansday and the growth and the embracing of the experiences that we call a physical life, and how we need to grow that, and how we need to be managing where the value is in our lives. Well, as I mentioned, our experiences will produce an energy, and that energy is then again passed through many different things before it reaches what I refer to as the horn of feeling. And within the horn of feeling, as this energy is produced, and it's come through, it's expanded in the horn, and now it's on its way to the me gate. One of the things that we're going to recognize is our emotional state. So our brain is going to look at the electrical combination, the composition of this experience, and it's going to compare that against something, I call it the recipe card, but it's a listing in your brain of all the emotions that you've experienced and what they look like from an energy perspective. So that when this energy thing comes up, we look at it and we go, okay, I see, all right, that's good. What's that say? Oh, that says I'm happy, right? So I have a happy energy. And that energy then is passed to the me gate, where we get to decide, do we want to be happy or not? Now, I know you're going to say, well, why wouldn't you decide to be happy? This goes back momentarily to this idea of grieving. Okay, so when we get this kind of thought in our brain that says, as an example, many who come to see me are have served in combat duty. And so they come to me and they say, well, I shouldn't be here. I I shouldn't have survived. That other person was much better than I. They should have survived. I should be the one there. Well, no. For a couple of different reasons. A, you have something to teach, and you can produce a message that honors them in a much better way than they could have done for you. All right? So think about it as their assignment to you. Their assignment to us as they leave this physical plane is for us to memorialize them in such a way that we teach others how to embrace that respect, that honor, that dignity, and all those values that individual put in our well. Now remember, a couple of shows ago, we talked about people with whom we've extended some level of authority have the ability to put their virtues, values, and belief systems in our well. They can do it at different sizes. And how well we adopt that rock in our well is purely up to us, but nonetheless, they can do that because we've given them that level of authority. And so now we are kind of, I don't want to say destined, but to honor them, we will simply attempt to put those rocks in others' well. That's what we do. And so we kind of recognize, oh, hey, here we go. Here you are. So think about the lessons that we're teaching from those who have gone before us. All right? So think about our control of emotion. And that's really what we're coming back to, is this control of emotion. Understanding the emotional energies and the influences, the energy influences that will arrive in our brain every minute of every day, what we want to accept versus what we don't. And begin to find value in what's there. We are acknowledging that value by accepting that which is more beneficial to us, what we want, versus what we're kind of spoon-fed from our society or from our community. I have to be very cognizant. So, again, today, Wotan's Day, we are celebrating the embrace of wisdom. Wisdom, of course, is intellect plus experiences married together to create a matrix within the mind that then not only feeds our wisdom, but it also feeds imagination. They're one and the same, kind of in the same thread lines. So all of these things, all of this energy management is really why we're here. We're to understand this. We're to learn this. Not only to teach our descendants after we pass from this physical realm, but to interpret all of the intellect that we've received from the spiritual realm. There's a lot out there, and we're gaining experiences every minute of every day. But a lot of them come without context. So as we learn our emotional controls and our emotional understandings, we're providing context to that spiritual knowledge, to that spiritual intellect. So we're building the same matrix, if you will, in our spiritual knowledge, our spiritual intellect that we have currently in our physical. All right, so we got this really cool matrix. You've become very wise, kind of have a lot of over knowledge. We can be super wise in the physical realm and not be in the spiritual realm. We can be really wise in the spiritual realm and not be so in the physical realm. The job, our mission, is to make kind of equal so that we're wise in both. And that's what life's experiences will do. They'll teach us. They'll grow us. And that's the important part. All right. Today, we're embracing Wotan, so I hope you will get out and you experience life, whether that be an emotional up, a down, in, out, over, around, whatever. And that we'll embrace that emotion because we recognize the value of its longevity, and we can qualify it, quantify it, and move it where it needs to be in a timely fashion that works for us. It provides value. And as long as it's providing value, we're all good. It's when it doesn't that we need to kind of reconsider. All right? So, embrace the Norse god Wotan, or Othin, as he is referred to in the sagas. And we'll see you again tonight, where we'll celebrate Sporgsmal and we'll answer a question that you've asked via email or through our website. And someone will get a free shirt. So we'll get after that tonight. In the meantime, enjoy Wotan's Day, and we'll see you again this evening. Love and light, my friends.
Watching Fulfillina's Belly Snake, a special production of Whispers of the Norse. Brought to you by the Alaska akulfhednar in South Central Alaska. Guidance and wisdom, courtesy of an ancient Celtic Norse shaman. Thank you so much for joining us today.